It's the Badass Banshee Energy Show.
Hey, it's the Badass Banshee Energy Show.
A whale of a good podcast.
I'm Hollis.
And I'm Elara.
And we're fantasy authors.
Yep.
We wrote these books, like, all there. Oh my God.
In honor of Pat Sajak having his final episode, we're just going to banna.
Yeah.
We're going to banna. We'll miss you, Pat.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much. So,
you know what? It's time for useless trivia.
I love useless trivia.
I love useless trivia. So useless. Okay. So tell me, what do you have for me today?
Mine today is related to a very popular sitcom. I think you've heard of it. MASH.
MASH.
Happens all the time in trivia night.
Yes, it does.
And did you know that MASH was actually based on a series of books? And those books were written by H. Richard Hornberger, a former military surgeon, and W.C. Hines, who is a World War II correspondent.
Interesting.
They
knew their stuff.
They knew their stuff. They knew their stuff, and they lightened it up.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
So,
what's yours?
Also, I'm going to build on that. The most watched episode of television of all time is actually the finale of MASH. So,
interesting.
Yeah. And you might ask yourself, wow, that's really interesting. Are there other books to movies we may not know about?
I don't know. I feel like there might be a few.
Yeah, there might be a topic we need to be talking about right now.
I don't know. I feel like we've been hinting at something for the past minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're not picking up what we dropped, today's episode is all about page to screen. So books that have been adapted into
film or television. Yep. And obviously I got my Jurassic Park t-shirt on.
I got my X-Men,
which are two really fun, excellent. I love dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And I love X-Men. Who doesn't love comics? I mean, come on. Yeah, come on. So
I love people who can kill people.
Right. Or creatures.
That's fair. Yep. Let's go murder.
So let's jump in. Obviously, we can't cover everything. And if we miss something, if we just don't talk about it, drop your favorite film, page to screen thing in the comments. Let us know what you like the best. So what are we going to talk about? So is it like, are there anything about book to screen that is interesting in general?
Yes. So I was looking at some research that was done that adaptations, film and TV adaptations of books actually encourages reading. Several people actually will see something they like and then pick up the book. So I think that's amazing. So,
and often discover something new.
Right.
Because as we know, the books and the movies, very different.
Yeah.
Very different most of the time.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll see a world and I'm like, I want more of that world. So let's begin with what adaptations did you see that you then picked up the book?
Oh, goodness. Actually, Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, I saw the animated version first.
Oh my gosh.
Because I read it in high school before the early 2000s films came out, which were awesome, and I also watched those a lot. But I saw the animated version, and I, and then I picked up the book and that was awesome.
It actually happened to me twice. So for a summer reading that I had to do in high school was To Kill a Mockingbird. And I struggled. For some reason, I really struggled getting into the book. And my mom's like, you know what? You're going to love this book. And I was like telling her I was struggling. So she went to the video store and rented the VHS for me.
Yeah, that's hey, that was what we did back then. We didn't have DVDs. No. There certainly wasn't such a thing as streaming
or internet.
The internet wasn't around yet.
So anyway, I watched the movie and of course I loved it and I picked up the book and just read it with no problem. I don't know what my stumbling block was. But like an unprompted one was actually the movie Stand By Me. Man, I was like, I went in River Phoenix and came out Will Wheaton, but like River Phoenix will always like live in my heart. Will Wheaton, there's room. There's room for everybody.
I had a crush on Will Wheaton back in the day because of that film.
Yeah.
Because of that film.
Yeah.
I was over him by the time Next Enterprise came out. But
yeah. So anyway, it's from a book where he talks. It's like different seasons, and so it's actually 4 short stories, and another of which is Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, that's
so
right.
I'd actually read Shawshank Redemption before the movie. And have you ever read it?
I haven't read that one that you're reminding me because I saw it by Stephen King, and then I picked up the book after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So like Stephen King, there
are several Stephen Kings. The Stand is another one for me where movie came first.
That latest miniseries is so good.
I haven't gotten a chance to watch it. I watched the films, like the early 90s films, I think.
Yeah, you can't find them anymore. No. And it's like Corin Nemec, who, like, again, I had a big crush on him.
I love Gary Sinise in that.
Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And, yeah. Okay.
I met him, by the way. He was so nice in person.
Gary Sinise.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, yeah, Gary. Corbin. Yeah, him. He was so nice. He was super cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, at Dragon Con.
Yeah. So, so anyone who's read the book is probably as disappointed as I am at the ending. I'm not going to release spoilers, but like, in my opinion, they should have gone with the book ending. As satisfying as the ending was, book ending.
I honestly have to agree with you. I do love the satisfaction that the film gave, and I feel like that's an important distinction between film and book to make, is that sometimes you have to change something for it to translate correctly to the other medium. And I think some people are not, the really diehard fans of certain books get really angry. and I do have The Count of Monte Cristo. I am visceral about that, but it is because they changed the characters. They did fluff shit that I did not appreciate. But anyway, we'll get into that later. But sometimes you need to change things because what happens in the book will not translate to film, or vice versa. It just doesn't work. Yeah. It just doesn't work. Yeah. So you're
essentially going from a format that enables the mind to imagine something, and there's never going to be an adaptation that matches your imagination or the imagination of every single person who's read it. So let's go on to, we all know the book was better. We've all heard this term. I was trying to find a shirt. I really want that shirt.
I'm sure
because
it exists.
People are like, what book? It's like, all of them. So anyway.
Honestly, one way or another, the book is better. I'm not saying I don't love the films or the television series, but it is, because it's your imagination.
Yes. So, that's the next question is, have you ever seen a movie or TV adaptation that was actually better than the book?
I can't think of one. I mean, there were some that were so expertly done.
Yeah.
They were so... Killing Mockingbird was a very well done film.
Right.
Pride and Prejudice, not the Keira Knightley one. That's not accurate. No. The 1970s with Colin Firth as Mr. Darcy. That was expertly done.
It was better than the book?
It was expertly done. I wouldn't necessarily... They actually followed the book almost exactly. Wow. It was a mini-series. It's 12 hours long, extremely well cast, and they were historically accurate. And, yeah, it was better. It was better. I am not a fan of the Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice. That can just, anyway. Yeah. So that one I would say not better, but on par. Okay.
I feel there is one correct answer to this. And I'm sure people are watching no, I can think of 20, but there was one instance, and it is a film called The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, I forgot about that.
It is actually one of my favorite films of all time, and we're talking the original. I've not seen the remake, so I can't judge on that. However, I had to do a essay on exactly this topic, a book that's been turned into a movie. So since it was one of my favorite movies, Angela Lansbury, just going to drop that.
I mean, who doesn't love her?
Right. So she is amazing as a villain. Oh,
She's so good at everything. But villain, that's her sweet spot.
So I'd seen the film and I picked up the book, and in the film, what I love, and I really love any kind of like media based around like, you don't exactly know what's going on. It gives you a plot, so it's not like it's so all over the place. You're like, I don't know what's going on, so like, who cares? But you don't quite exactly know what's happening to this character.
Yeah.
And in the book, they give it away in the first paragraph. And it just, I was like, I can't imagine reading this and having any satisfaction. And so it was just...
I've never read that book.
The book was just so boring to me, but, you know, I got through it because I picked it for the project. But, like, I was like, this might be the one and only time.
Yeah, I mean, if he spoils it for you in the first paragraph.
Right. And, I mean, it's beautiful base material. I mean, they picked the right book to turn into a movie. It's a great story. It was not unfolded well in the book, in my opinion.
Spoiler right off the bat.
right. It's like, well, so I definitely recommend seeing that movie before reading the book.
Yes.
You sort of already touched upon this, but do you like it when an adaptation, I'm really struggling with that word, adaptation is purely canon or gives a little bit of like new material?
Okay, a lot of it, number one, some of it depends on my personal emotional attachment to the book. I will fully admit that. And I think we can all roll with that. However, I usually am okay with wiggle room, and I usually think that in the case of having a good film adaptation, it is in creative best interest to let the director and the actors and everything, just as long as they stay true to the world and the characters, I'm very happy with it to be a little wiggle room, because then you usually get a better product. In my personal opinion.
Right.
In my personal opinion.
Right.
And as long as they stay true to the world and the characters themselves, I'm fine with them switching it up a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. How about you?
I wholeheartedly agree with that, because I am about to drop Game of Thrones.
Which we know is not just like the book.
There is no way, as we've said, that you just can't put everything that's in these enormous books even into a show where you have
you can't
more
even do
hours
it in
than
a television
movie.
series that goes on for 10 seasons.
So I normally prefer it if they add new material, because I've already read the book.
Then you get a surprise.
But it has to be true to that source material. And I actually loved that about so much of Game of Thrones. And, so many people are so canon. They're like, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I was like, but I already read Game of Thrones, so I'm kind of interested, because George R.R. Martin was a consultant on the series. What else does he have to offer from this world?
Right.
I've read this. I know this. Give me something new.
Well, and maybe there was something he wanted to include in the books or had an idea for after he published it. He was like, I should have put the thing in the thing.
I would definitely say that if he'd ever finished the series, which he has not.
No. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
You know what? As fantasy authors, I think that we can both say that we fully intend to finish our series.
Yes.
In a timely fashion. Right. Yeah, we're going to be nice to you. We're going to be super nice.
George R.R. Martin has said, I find it very insulting, because people ask me when I'm going to finish Game of Thrones, and they all assume he says they all assume I'm going to die before finishing the books, and it's such an insult to his, insinuating that about his health. And I'm just like, well, all right, you know what? I have mitochondrial disease, so you may not finish the books before I die.
Right. It's not about you all the time, dude.
Got me, George. So anyway, what changes from a book to a movie have you actually liked?
Okay, so I am a huge fan of Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, who is a historian, and he writes historical fiction. And if you hadn't read it, I mean, they're big, thick books. The first book that I read of his, Pillars of the Earth, which was the first he's written in what's kind of considered the Kingsbridge series now. It's like 1,000 pages long, but I read it in 1 week because it's that good. And it was, that is another one where Ken Follett, there was a mini series for Pillars of the Earth and for the next book, World Without End, which happens like in the Pillars of the Earth happens in the 1100s and the next one happens in the 1300s. But he changed a lot of things, especially in Pillars of the Earth from the book. But it was better for film. It was way better for film. He completely changed the involvement of King Stephen. Or Stephen, however, we don't actually know if he was a Stephen or a Stephen. It doesn't matter. And all of that. He changed a lot of that, and he had all these things with dreams and stuff. And I actually really enjoyed seeing that because, like you mentioned earlier, it was a surprise. I've read Pillars of the Earth, 4 times, 5 times. I love that story. And it's historically accurate because he's a historian, which I love. But it just having it change and having the characters still be true to themselves, but then have a different reaction to a circumstance.
Oh, interesting.
In the book that, it was still true to who they were.
Right.
But they had a different reaction because maybe they were in a different mood in that scene.
Right.
And
interesting.
And it was really interesting. Yeah. And he had there were a lot of different things that he changed. The main vein of the plot, of course, was the same. And he added some things in there with signet rings and whatever. I won't get into the whole, it's very complicated. But things that didn't exist at all in the book or were suddenly in the thing, and they worked better visually as a visual. It was way better. And it really enhanced things. And as somebody who knows the book so well, it was really fun to see a different thing. Yeah. Also extremely well cast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Generally speaking.
I saw the show. I've not read it, but I from the beginning I was hooked on that.
Yeah. The actress who played Aliena, the only thing I have is that they mention that Aliena has curly hair about 1,000 times in the book, and her hair is bored straight in the film. And I was like, that was my only complaint. She was well cast. She was a great actress.
Right.
She did the character justice, but I was just like, couldn't they have curled it?
It's the funniest thing when that little detail totally gets you bent out of shape.
It was such a simple thing. She has the dark curls were a big thing, right. And then I was like, it would have been so easy for hair and makeup to just put some rollers in. Yeah. Give a girl a perm. I don't know. Right. But that's okay. Yeah. That's okay.
All right. So buckle up because I'm going Lord of the Rings. The next question after is what didn't work. So I'm just going to unpack a little bit here.
All right.
First of all, I do not like to yuck someone's yum. I know there are huge fans of the books and there are huge fans of the movie. There are very few people who are both. I'm going to start with Lord of the Rings, the books. I am a huge fan of. I have reread them several times. They don't really give any dialogue in the books at all.
That's something that movie watchers don't realize.
Right. And it's just, yes.
It's very description heavy.
Right. Yeah. So, they had, I know you have, if any viewers have watched the bonus discs. Oh my gosh, it's streaming now, I'm sure. But the bonus discs.
Sure they have. Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, they were really talking about, they did have an enormous job of taking a feeling in a scene and making dialogue make that scene true.
Right.
And follow that scene.
And stay true to the character while giving them a voice that they didn't have in the books.
Right. But they did because it was sort of inner thoughts. But so there was no dialogue voice, but there was certainly it was just all action, essentially. I will say, first and foremost, the thing that I liked, and my brother, if he watches this, I'm so sorry because I know you hated this part.
Sibling rivalry.
Yes. I was raised as a little girl on this because my brother was he's 8 years older than me, so like he was like heavy into Lord of the Rings in the 70s when it had made that huge like Led Zeppelin like revival.
Yeah.
So I was literally raised on this. I actually liked when the elven army showed up to rescue them. Did not happen in the books. No. It's understandable that people would be upset about that change, but as somebody, like, my degree's in video, so I kind of get why they did it. You need
a hurrah moment.
You need the hurrah moment.
Yeah.
You need a beginning, middle, end. If you are doing, and so many movies, like, I feel like there's so many segue movies out nowadays does not, it's the middle of the story, but it does not have a beginning, middle, end. So, you know what?
It's not structured enough. You don't have that.
Yeah.
You have to have something that hits hard, that gives the audience something to live for.
Right. So, like, just saying, like, film producers fix that because it's absurd.
Because it is a different medium. In the book, you can keep muscling through. It's different when you're reading. I don't know why, but it is.
Right.
And yeah, when you're watching a film, though, you need a win.
Right.
At certain points.
Right. So I can't talk about Lord of the Rings without mentioning Tom Bombadil.
I was wondering. I was waiting for that to come up.
as everybody knows, when they ask me my book crush or my character crush, it's Book Faramir.
Yes, Book Faramir.
Movie Faramir.
Agreed. He's cute.
Although
Movie
adorable.
Yes, very attractive man. But
he gets there. I have so much to say about this. Tom Bombadil. I understand they were saying, okay, for somebody who's never read Lord of the Rings, we are making a movie, and the first movie has to convey that a ring is really super evil. And first thing, they can't have two characters say, oh yeah, I don't care.
Right. And honestly, I will say for cinema's sake, not completely necessary to drive the plot.
Right.
For cinema's sake.
Right.
He was very important in the book. I will say that.
Right. And so, like, my argument would be they could have introduced the character later.
They could have, actually.
And they should have. Because it's such a fan favorite. It's like leaving Wolverine out of X-Men movies. Like, you just, everybody loves, like, Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, well, that was the first outcry.
Yeah.
As people, from people who read the books, like, where's Tom?
Right.
Where is he?
Right.
What happened?
Right. Maybe in Rings of Power, we'll see.
Oh.
Which, like, again, I could do a whole episode on these adaptations. Yeah. So, Faramir, also. Faramir is the good... So Peter Jackson said that they needed a romantic plot, and that's why Arwen has so much of a bigger story, as she's more casually mentioned in Lord of the Rings, and then she's in the appendices. They had it with Éowyn and Faramir.
Yeah.
They are like the reverse of a power couple.
I was about to say.
They're both in a position where they can take over kingdoms, and neither of them want it.
Yeah.
And I think that is such an important, and they kind of nod to that at the end of the movies, but I think in the whole, like, series and meanings of Lord of the Rings and the books of what Tolkien was trying to convey, I think having those characters that, like, not everyone needs to be power hungry to be happy. Not everybody needs that in their life. It's a show of a flip side of a character.
One of my favorite quotes is, real heroes never dreamed of being heroes. They want to sit on the sidelines and clap with everyone else.
Right.
And that's in my mind, that's true.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling myself a hero, but I've always been that way. People are like, don't you want to be in charge? I'm like, no, I don't.
Right.
I would like to sit on the sidelines, but at the same time, I often get put in charge because I'm very direct. But but I never asked to be. I never put my own name in the hat. Somebody else votes you in, and I feel like that's Faramir and that's Éowyn. It's like they were like, hey, I just want to walk back out of this. I care.
I've seen enough.
I care.
This
I want
might not be for me.
But I also don't want to run a country. Like, that's a lot. Please no.
I feel like this is going to go so over time, but like, it's also kind of how I feel about Daenerys, is that there's like, There is this throughout history that the rulers are rulers because it's been passed down to them. It is heredity. It is who was born in the right position as opposed to who's better.
I was just talking about this yesterday with someone else, and that is so funny. It's this exact point.
Right. And it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, I cannot comprehend wanting a ruler simply because they are the offspring of a ruler. Like, that does not make you, like, yes, you might have, like, some training or whatnot, but it does not make for a good ruler.
Yeah.
IMHO.
Yeah.
So
and that's true. Like, you can be, and even if you have the desire to rule, maybe you don't have the right characteristics. You don't have the right personality characteristics, or vice versa. It's a rare person that wants the responsibility and has the appropriate personality.
Yeah. And that is such a common theme in fantasy writing. There's almost always that character.
Yeah, the rightful heir.
Like there's the rightful heir, and then there's the one that doesn't want it, like King Arthur pulls the sword out of the stone, like boom, you've got that arc, and that really, I think, important part of fantasy telling. So again, I think like they could have done a little bit better, especially with Tom Bombadil's character. And I will say, since we'll never know because George Martin will never finish the book.
Probably never.
I liked that happened with Daenerys. And I hate that so many people were like on her side, even like she was a fan favorite. And I'm just like, her whole shtick was, this is my birthright. Classic novels that have had an updated remake.
You mean like modern day?
Yes. So, for example, like let's take Sherlock.
I was thinking
you have the original Sherlock, and then you have the remake where, like, with Benedict Cumberbatch
and Martin Short.
Martin Short. That would be a totally different Steve Martin and Martin. Like, don't do it.
Such a different.
Don't do it. Do not take that advice.
What's his last name? Freeman. So Pride and Prejudice has been done and redone and blah 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 blah.
And zombified.
Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. But that doesn't actually, that's not Jane Austen. But there is actually
it is updated.
It is updated. There is a Bollywood version of Pride and Prejudice called Bride and Prejudice that takes place. It was made in the early 2000s, so it takes place in modern day India. It's really good. I love it. It's Aishwarya Rai is Elizabeth, though her name isn't Elizabeth. I forget what it is. It's the Hindi adaptation of the name. And it's really good, and the music is really good, and I love it. I love Pride and Prejudice.
Sounds amazing.
So if you enjoy Pride and Prejudice, and especially if you enjoy musicals, I mean, and it's very well cast.
I might like that version.
I think you would like it.
Interesting to me, like, okay, let's give Sherlock a cell phone. And the very first scene in Sherlock, the very first scene of that show was him hijacking everybody's phone, saying that the detective was wrong. And it's something Sherlock would have done.
Yeah.
So that's true to character.
That is, and he would have had he had the smarts to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Final question. Can you believe we're there?
No.
What book that hasn't been made into a movie or show would you like seen in a show?
I'm going to be very self-serving. I don't care. No, and I honestly, I
would also like to see that, though.
Thank you. See, and she's read it, and I have gotten almost every review and person who has come up to me who has read To Save a World has said, I saw it cinematically in my head. I would love to see it on screen. And I would love that too.
Yeah. Same. Actually, I'm holding out for Netflix, just saying. People will be like, well, who do you see cast as this person? I'm like, I don't, though.
I actually have some people in mind.
Nice.
I actually have
but yeah, like, because my degree's in video, like, I wrote it, like, I very purposely wrote it like a film series would be instead of a book series. So that's kind of like one of my little, like, rules that I break is that, like, I love, like, I have an intro scene in the second one, and then the title page, and I have bonus scenes at the end. So I write, it's how I see things. I'm very visual, so.
Right. Well, and I think that's what, because when I'm writing as well, I'm very visual. Like, I'm seeing them doing the things in my brain. I'm not, like, in my head, it is a movie while I'm writing it.
Right.
And so I think that's maybe why it translates that way to people's minds as well, because that's my brain.
Right.
So yeah, but no, I would love for Molly Quinn to be Ethne.
Nice.
I love Molly Quinn. She's really stupid. And she's a good Ethne in my mind.
All right.
Yeah.
What streaming service would you want to do it? Would you want it a movie or like a TV series?
I actually think a TV series, because I mean, this book is almost 600 pages
I think like literally every author is like, just make it a TV series.
Just make it a television series.
With my words.
Don't take things away. And in my dream, Patrick Stewart would be Tim.
Oh my gosh, I can see that.
He could actually embody the character.
I love that.
The depth of emotion, but the flippancy as well. I mean, Tim is a very old wizard in To Save a World, if you don't know. He's an ancient, super powerful wizard, but he's also that's fine. He's very
so,
flippant.
Like, flippant. I love him.
Yeah,
yes.
I love Tim. Thank you for loving Tim.
Yes.
A lot of people don't love Tim. And I'm like,
no, I totally like love that, because like there are way too many like serious wizards in this world.
No, he's not. He's very over it. He's almost 1,000 years old. He's over it.
He's done.
He's done.
He's cooked.
He's fine. He's fine. But yeah, so I think that a miniseries, and I would love for Netflix.
Okay.
What about you?
I know Netflix, definitely.
Netflix is just the powerhouse.
I have a very specific answer to like, I feel like there's so much source material that they have just glided over. And so back to Fahrenheit 451, written by Bradbury. Ray Bradbury.
Oh.
Bradbury. It's the new Snapple flavor. Can I have some Ray Bradbury, please? So anyway.
Do Snapples still do facts under the caps?
What?
Remember? It used to be Snapple Facts?
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do that.
Yeah. We're like the Snapple of podcasts.
I know. Whatever. Snapple was cool in the 90s.
It was.
Everybody drank it.
Believe it or not. So anyway, so this is sort of a lie because it has been made into a movie, but Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes is that movie changed my life. That movie is also sort of like, I talk all the time where Star Wars is really fantasy and sci-fi. Ray Bradbury's a sci-fi writer, but it's a very it's a YA fantasy written by like the master of science fiction. And they made a movie, and I loved the movie of it back in like maybe the 80s. And you can't even like find it, even parts of it on YouTube. And I just thought, what a shame that nobody has picked this up as popular as like YA material is right now. It's an evil carnival.
Yeah, I haven't read it at all, so I don't know.
Well, that's that is a very
that's very fun.
It's very
that's a very good
like
premise.
Trendy and fun. People would love it. So, again, producers, directors out there, like,
Pay
do that.
To us.
Do it. Yes. Do our books and Ray Bradbury, because we are in the same league.
Good ideas.
Yes.
Smart.
Yes.
Readers are voracious, and we always have content. We need it. George R. R. Martin.
Yeah. And, maybe he should do so when Robert Jordan was dying he got Brandon Sanderson to finish Wheel of Time.
Mhm.
Maybe George R.R. Martin should get Brandon Sanderson to finish Game of Thrones if he's not going to do it. And Brandon Sanderson, he releases 5 books a day. He's got the time. He can do it. I know, right?
He's got a system.
Yes, and that was actually one of the other things I was going to mention that I would love to see adapted is just pick one one of the Brandon Sanderson.
That's true. He's
maybe
got a lot
even
of really
like
good stuff.
Elantris as a segue.
Mhm.
But it would have to be done so right. But like he's so like prolific and he writes so much. He can be very hands on with the project like he usually is. So yeah, like I'd like to see some sort of like a faithful adaptation.
I could
of the
definitely.
Cosmere. Even you know what would be a great idea? Okay, so Brandon, if you're listening, he should just write the movie or the series, like based in his world. And that way it's not necessarily based on a book. It's
I like it.
I live for stuff like that.
That would be cool.
So I have written down some books that have been made into shows or movies. And the lightning round is to say you've read it, you've seen it, or both. All right? And we're both going to answer. Okay. Sandman.
Seen it.
Both.
Ooh.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Seen it.
Both. Frankenstein.
Both.
I've seen the movie and I have been in the middle of reading the book. So I'm getting there.
Mother of science fiction, by the way, Mary Shelley.
Yes. Very first science fiction
Just
book.
throwing it out there.
Yes.
19-year-old girl.
Yeah. Atonement.
Oh, God. Oh, okay. I have seen it and I half read it, but it's a lot.
I've seen it, and honestly, I'm so personally invested in James McAvoy. It tore me apart.
It does. It tears you up.
I'm never going to read
horrible.
that because that was too much for me.
The book actually, I didn't finish reading it because it hurt more.
It's too.
So I don't recommend. The movie hurts. That is stabbing. But yeah.
If you want to go through something, Atonement. Dune.
Oh, both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not my thing. I've seen the original movie like 5,000 years ago. I think it came out 5,000 years ago.
1984.
Right? Yeah. I don't remember it. I was okay on the new movie.
My partner I read the books way back in the day, like, I don't know, 13. And honestly, not for me. I've seen the 84. I've seen the new. They're good. It's not my world. Similar feelings. I appreciate it, but it's not mine.
Okay. I loaded this next one because we're both ginormous fans. Chronicles of Prydain. If you're not familiar, The Black Cauldron, Disney.
Both big time, and you should just do just all of it. Read it, watch
Chronicles of Prydain is life-changing.
It is so. There's an oracle pig, you guys.
I thought the movie was somewhat lacking, but that's not what we're talking about.
But that's
in the
not what.
lightning round.
No, I'm sorry. Yes, but yes.
Little Women.
Oh,
nice.
Yes.
I have not read it. It's not exactly my kind of thing to read, but I actually really did appreciate the movie that had I forget the first one. I have not. I'm going to see the next one because it's got a really good cast.
Really good. Yeah, I've only seen the '90s one with Winona Ryder.
That's who
as Joe, and it was awesome.
You know, I'm off my game when I can't even think of Winona Ryder like that.
And is it
late.
And Christian Bale is one of the guys. I love Christian Bale. But yes, Little Women's great.
Alice in Wonderland.
Both. Oh, that's another one.
But the question is, which movie? All of the above, or what?
I've seen several movies. The book is so much more messed up than any of the films.
So messed up. Joy Luck Club.
Both.
Nice.
So good. And I would say I read the book first. And then I saw the movie. The movie definitely does justice to the book. It's really well done. I would recommend it.
Nice.
I would recommend it to just about anybody.
Good to know.
Especially ladies, especially women. Very women focused.
The Godfather.
I'm Italian. Goodfellas also, shout out to that. I've only seen that movie. I haven't read the book.
Nice.
But awesome.
I have seen The Godfather, obviously, because I'm a human on Earth. So my parents had the book. So I, like, as a little girl, I actually stared at the cover. Before I could really read adult stuff, I, like, would go, my mom's a huge reader. Shout out, Mom. Love you.
Yeah.
And I would just stare, like, at the covers of her book. So I've stared at the cover of
Why
The
not?
Godfather. Hunger Games.
I've seen it. Okay, I've seen 2 of them, and I never read the books.
Oh, yeah. Me either. I feel like I would like them, but it's just, like, not high on my list. Princess Bride.
That was so good. I've seen the movie way more than I've read the books. I read the book.
I've seen this movie. I can probably quote every line of this movie, and I had no idea it was even a book until, like, a year ago.
I learned it was a book when I was 15 years old, and it's a quick book. It's not long. It's like 200 pages long. It's quick, but it's so good.
Nice. Memoirs of a Geisha.
Both.
How did that turn out? I've not seen or read.
The book is excellent.
Yeah.
The book is excellent. The movie, it's not bad. I
Okay.
will say if you've read the book and you enjoyed it, you are not upset. And it's a beautiful, because there's so many gorgeous visuals,
Yeah.
and
Not horrible is, like, the best review you can give.
it's not
an
bad.
adaptation
If you've read the
sometimes.
book and you really enjoyed the book, I think the movie's worth a viewing.
Okay.
But I wouldn't recommend the movie just out of the blue.
I started with Neil Gaiman, and I'm ending with Neil Gaiman.
Ah!
Stardust.
I knew it was coming. You?
I was so late to the Stardust game. Everybody had always talked about this movie, and I never quite...
So good.
I'm like, it looks kind of like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? All right, so...
Oh, actually, I didn't say it in the beginning. That's one where I saw the movie first, and I read the book after.
Nice.
Yeah. I didn't
So
think about
I was
that.
really late to the game. I had no idea Neil Gaiman was the source material on this. And so I saw the movie, like, maybe 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like, how has this been missing from
I
my
don't know.
life?
You missed that.
All right.
I mean, we could go on forever. There's so many we didn't mention, but you all can put those in the comments.
Yep. Please do.
And maybe there'll be something we didn't know about.
Right.
I certainly didn't know about MASH being books before we
Right.
started bringing it back to the beginning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and definitely, like, Lord of the Rings opinions, like, hit me.
Yep.
Hit me.
She's got things to say.
I do.
Alara has
And
opinions.
everybody has things to say.
I do too.
I did not get started on Rings of Power.
Yeah,
so.
I am much less heated about Lord of the Rings, but I do have my own opinions.
All right. All right.
Okay.
All right.
I think that's it.
All right.
Okay.
Signing off.
Signing off.
Bye.
Bye.
Hollis pointed out that there is a which Lord of the Rings character quiz on the internet.
From the books. Let's be specific.
Okay. Excellent.
Yes.
And what character were you?
I very proudly, and I feel like I'm bragging, because I am, I got Faramir. I did not take the quiz again. I was like, done.
That's the optimal result, really.
Yeah, I felt really positive about it.
Yeah,
The
we both have a crush on you then.
Yeah.
Book Faramir.
Crush on myself.
I, interestingly enough, came up as Galadriel.
That's a good one, though.
It is a good one. I never identified with her, like, at all, so.
Well, and she doesn't get, I mean, she has a pivotal role, but she doesn't get a lot of time.
Right.
So maybe that's like you don't have a lot of time to get attached.
Yeah, I just never
But I
felt
do
like
feel- I feel the
I feel like too clumsy. to be
Uh.
Galadriel. I don't have that poise.
I don't know. Maybe we should give you
like she's supposed to be the most beautiful being on, like, in the world.
He
Fail.
falls in
It's
love
too
with
much to live up to.
her.
Too much.